Hello, all of my crafty friends. Welcome to my channel. Welcome all of you to Pretty Pink Craft Room. I'm so excited to be hopping on with you today to share with you another crafty project that I made just using 6x6 papers. So if you have that 6x6 paper pad that you still have hanging around and you're trying to bust through it and use up all the papers in that paper pack, this is a perfect project for that. It is a Matchbook Style Mini Album. So it's shaped like a matchbook. This is how it looks in the front, the sides, the back, etc. Again, it's all using just the 6x6 papers, and this flap actually is Velcroed. So I just added Velcro dots to seal it. Added some decorations, some die cuts that came with the paper pack, some flowers and some lace and ribbon. And then when you pull it down, then you see the Velcro dots here. And then when you open it up, there's several staggered pages here that has room for plenty of photos. So the first page here is again decorated, and then when you open it, this is a tuck spot where you can add more photos. And then when you pull it down, there's an area here for a photo. The next page is pretty much the same design. There's an area for a photo here. You can journal there. And then when you pull it down, there's an area for a photo as well here. This is a larger page. I didn't add a photo mat. It looks pretty by itself in case, someone wants to keep it as it is. You can either leave it as it is or add a photo if you so choose. So this page is a bit bigger than the other preceding pages. But on the back there is a photo mat where you can add a photo here as well. Then when you get to the back of the album, these are some flip pages. The first page is like a booklet where you can open it and add photos here. But then these pages, I added tabs here so that the pages can turn easier. So this page opens and then you have more photo mats. And then when you turn, there's another photo mat and then this pretty scenery. And then when you turn, there's another photo mat here. It opens back to a deep pocket that you can add more photos or memorabilia, whatever you like to add. And then there's even another pocket up here top. So even though it is a small project, there is plenty of room for all of those keepsake photos and keepsake items that you may want to hold all in a special place. So this is a cute little project, again using up those 6x6 papers. If you are interested in creating one for yourself and playing with some paper to create it, I hope you will stick around and craft with me. So to create this project, I am going to be using some 6x6 papers, paper stock here. This is just regular 65-pound 6x6 papers. And I'm going to use this as my base, and then I'll mat the decorative paper on top of it. So these are the pages I will be using to create my base. And again, they all measure 6x6. So I'm going to pull out my scoreboard here. And I'm going to take the first 6x6 paper. This is going to act as the front of my album. And on one of the 6-inch sides, you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then 5.5. 1/2 inch and then 5.5. Then I'm going to rotate it and I'm going to score at 5/8 inch. And then I'm going to score at the bottom at 5 3/4. So I'll repeat that. Let's keep the paper straight. So again, for the front of my album, I scored at 1/2 inch and then 5.5, and then I rotated it and scored at 5/8 inch and then 5 3/4. So let's go ahead and cut that down and fold it over. So this small 1/4 inch panel here is the bottom. And then of course this is the larger is the top. And then these two panels that are 1/2 inch each are your sides. So that helps you to figure out the direction of everything. So I'm going to do some mitering of the edges here, just so that it folds properly. So if you notice, I cut in an angle and then I cut straight, angled and then straight. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just cutting out, I'm pretty much cutting out this box here, but I'm also adding angle cutting that flap so that it folds a little bit better down. So that's how it looks from the top. And then I will do pretty much the same thing at the bottom. Okay. All right. So once that's all done, again, just keeping it in the right direction. This 1/4 inch panel is your bottom, this is your top, and then your sides. So you're just going to fold and burnish down. This cut is a little bit off, so I will straighten that up. Fold, fold, and fold. Definitely going to crease that one down because it's such a small panel, that 1/4 inch flap there. Okay, so every side you're going to secure down with the glue except the top portion. So these two and the bottom, so all three of these are going to be glued down. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. I'm feeling a little tongue-tied, so I'm hoping that what I'm saying is making sense for all of you. Please feel free to let me know if anything needs to be clarified in the comments. That would be great, and I'd be happy to clarify anything. So I just glued down those two sides, and now I'm just going to glue down the bottom here. And this one I'm going to give it a little more time because, again, this one is the smallest panel. It's just a 1/4 inch flap. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So again, this is your front. So this is going to act as the front of your album base. So now let's go to the back side. So again, I'm just going to take another 6x6 paper. I'll bring back out my scoreboard. And on one of the 6-inch sides, we're going to score at 1/2 inch and then 5.5. 1/2 inch and then 5.5. Then I'm going to rotate, and I'm only going to do one score line, and that score line is at 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so then I'll move this out of the way, and we'll do the same cutting where I'll cut out these two panels, and then I will glue the two sides down. So I'll cut out these two panels and I'll glue down these two sides. Okay, so as you can see, all I did was cut out those two squares that were up top, similar to what we did on the previous page, and then I glued down those side panels that were 1/2 inch each, and the 5/8 inch panel is at the top, so that helps you to keep things in direction. So again, this was my back flap, and so I'll bring back in my front one that we previously did, and all we're going to do is glue these two 5/8 inch panels together, and they will create our spine for our project. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply glue and affix them together. And so again, you're just adding these two 5/8 inch panels and putting them on together. I'm just trying to even them up Make sure they're all even. And if you have some excess, because maybe something wasn't cut exactly straight, like me, oftentimes, then you can, of course, take this time to adjust it or cut off whatever is excess. Okay, so now you can see how your base is coming together. So now you have one side that is a little bit shorter than the other side. The shorter side is your front. The longer side is your back. So that is the base of our album. So now we just need to add the flap here that acts as our closure. So I'm going to take another 6x6 paper, and we're actually going to cut that down. So let me bring out my cutter. For the closure flap, you will need a piece that is actually 3.5 by 6. I went ahead and cut that off camera since I had my guillotine cutter. But again, it's cut down to 3.5 by 6. So on the 6-inch side, you're going to score once again at 1/2 inch and 5.5. So 1/2 inch and 5.5. And again, I am doing these scores because I am trying to protect the edges. So I'll bring this back in so you can see what I'm talking about. So instead of it just being the flat edge of the paper, I have folded these edges over just to give it a better finish and to protect those edges too. You can certainly choose not to do those steps. You could leave it as it is, a 6x6. But I find that doing those extra folds really does protect the project. So that's why we keep doing the 1/2 inch and 5.5 to protect the edges. So again, I've done those scores, and then I'm going to rotate it to the 3.5 inch side, and then we're going to score, excuse me, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Then we're going to score at 2.5. And then we're going to score at 3. So I'll repeat 1/2 inch, 2.5, and then 3. So we're going to do pretty much the same thing we've done previously, and cutting out these little boxes that are on each side of the paper. And as I cut them, I am going to do a small little angle so that they fold down a little bit better, so you can see the final touch there. So I will do the same thing. I'm just going to cut down both of these small squares at the bottom here. I will cut both of those out. And then once I get here is where I'm going to angle cut. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll do the angle cut, and then I'll do the straight cut to cut out both of those squares. So once you do all your cutting, this is the shape that you will be left with. So I am going to now, just so that you know, this is the top with the one flap. The 1/2 inch flap is at the top. The two here are your bottom. So that'll help to keep things in direction. So I'm going to fold these in, fold this down, and fold and fold. And this is a little bit off here, so I will straighten that up. Okay. So again, this is your top, this 1/2 inch flap here. I'm going to secure that down with glue, and then I'm going to secure the two sides down with glue as well. So let me move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just gluing down the top 1/2 inch flap here. And then I'm going to glue down the two sides. So these here at the bottom, I did not glue down They are actually what is going to secure onto the base of my project. And then this will actually give me the bottom spine as well. So I'll bring back in the 2 sheets we previously completed. And all we're going to do is use this 1/2 inch flap at the bottom and add that to the base of our project at the back. So remember, your front is smaller or shorter, your back is longer, and this is where you will add this to your back. So just lining it up like so and attaching it to your project. Perfect. Okay, so I just added that down. So now you can see how this becomes in your matchbook style with the small little flap at the bottom and the uneven pages inside, like so. So now that the base is complete, let's go ahead and work on our inserts and the pockets that we have inside as well. So let's go ahead and bring more paper in to create those. So for my inserts, I took some more 6x6 papers of the red cardstock, but I had to cut them down in order to fit inside of the album. So I'll go over the measurements with you of creating the insert pages. Now, of course, once you create the base, you can choose to make this as elaborate or as simple as you like. You can just do a couple of things in here. I did several things to kind of give you more of an option of what you can do, but of course you can choose to simplify this and make it less elaborate if you so choose. But I'll just show you the exact way that I made the project from the beginning. So for my first insert page, I have a sheet and I went ahead and wrote the measurements on here so that it could hopefully be a little bit easier to follow. So this one measures 5x6, and on my 5-inch side, I'm going to score at 1/4 of an inch. So you can either do 1/4 of an inch or you can choose to do 4 3/4. I'm just going to do that 4 3/4 here. Wherever your 1/4 inch flap is, that is the bottom. So keep that in mind as well. And then on the 6-inch side, I'm going to do a score at 4 inches. So I'll just erase those pencil marks a little later, but that's perfectly fine. So this is how your page is going to look upright. You'll have a 1/4 inch panel here at the bottom, and then you'll have a 2-inch panel here and a 4-inch panel here. Now one thing is we are going to have to cut off this box here. So this small box here is what we will cut away. And I'm just doing a straight cut to cut the box entirely out. Okay, perfect. So now it looks like so. So you just cut away at that box here. And I needed to take away the entire score line here. So I just came up a little bit more and cut off a little bit more here. Okay. So here's the point where you can choose to make your flap go forward, or you can choose to make it go behind you. And then you fold your 1/4 inch flap under. So bringing back in my project, again, this is the front, this was our flap, and that's the back. So we have a little bit of a gusset here at the bottom, and this is where we will attach our 1/4 inch flap. So let me crease that down a little bit more here. So I'm going to take this 1/4 inch flap and attach it to that gusset. I'm going to come a little bit away from the score line here. You can see here that this is the score line. I'm going to come back just a little shy of it, and that is where I will affix my page. So So it will go in just like so. So let me go ahead and add glue. I'm adding glue to that little 1/4 inch panel here. And again, I'm just going inside that gusset, but a little bit shy of that score line so that everything can still fold and there will be no bumping. Everything should fold up fine. Just trying to get off some of that excess glue. Perfect. So now you have your first page that flips back and forth, and you have a little flap there as well. So now let's do the second page. So for the second page, you're going to take a sheet that is 5 1/4 by 6, and again on the 5 1/4 inch side, you're going to score that at 1/4 inch. So I'll go ahead and do 1/4 inch. It may be easier to follow along if I do that. So on the 5 1/4 inch side, I scored at 1/4 inch, and now I'm going to rotate. And on my 6 inch side, I'm just going to score at 4. So now you can see it's pretty much the same thing. I have these panels here at the bottom, and this small one is the one I'm going to cut away. Okay. So now you're left with this, and you can again choose to fold forwards or backwards on this little side panel. And then your flap at the bottom, your little 1/4 inch flap, goes under. So I'll bring back in the project. And again, just so that you can see, this is the front. This was our first page. I'm going to fold that down, and I'm just going to add this same 1/4 inch flap right on top of the previous one, except I'm going to scoot it. Instead of lining it up with my left side, I'm going to line it up with my right side. Okay, so I took that 1/4 inch flap here, and I'm going to come all the way to the right edge, line it up. And lay that 1/4 inch panel right on top of the previous one, but just coming a little bit shy so that the score lines don't butt up against each other. Give them just a little bit of room. So you see how you have that little bit of space there. Okay, so now you have page 2. And as you can see, it just folds down like this, and then this page 2. So now we can do page 3. So for page 3, this sheet measures 5 1/2 by 5, and there's only one scoring on the 5 1/2 side. You're just going to score at 1/4 inch. So again, this was 5 by 5 1/2. So on the 5 1/2 inch side is where I scored at 1/4 inch. And again, I'm going to fold that under and crease that down. And then I'll bring back in the project, and it's just going to line up same way. But because this sheet is at 5, or it should be at 5, I may be off a little bit. I may have to cut down just slightly. Yeah, it looks like I'm just off just a tad. If you can see it here, I'm just off just a little bit there. So let me go ahead and pause and even that out, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've cut it down just a little bit so that it's even with the base of the project. So again, this is my 5 1/2 by 5 piece of paper, and on the 5 1/2 side, I scored at 1/4 inch. So this little 1/4 inch flap is what's going to be glued down. So I'm just lining it up with both sides of the project, and I'm going to lay it right on top of the previous page flap as well, but staying, again, coming out slightly away from those score lines so that they don't butt up against each other. So I'll go ahead and add glue here. And then try to line this up properly. Make it kind of as even as I can. Okay, perfect. So now you have a larger base here for photo matting, and then you have your second page and your first page, and you see how they all stagger on each other, which gives a good opportunity to show off the photo or the paper that you're using to mat the project to. So you can certainly choose to stop here, and that would be a great album as well. But if you'd like to make the flaps that I made at the back, then we'll go ahead and make those together now. At the back of my album, I had 3 turning pages as well as a pocket. So to create those 3 pages, I'm going to use this piece, which measures 4 1/4 by 4 1/2. And on the 4 1/2 side, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. So again, this measured 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, and on the 4 1/2 inch side, I scored at 1/2 inch. And then I'll fold that down and crease it. The next page measures 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, perfect square, and I'm going to score that down at 1/2 inch as well. Then I'll fold and crease that down. And then for my last page, it measures 5 1/4 by 5, and actually on the 5 inch side is where I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. And then I'll just crease that down. So I'll bring in the pages so you can actually see how this lines up. So these pages are actually staggered on top of each other, and they kind of look like a pyramid structure of flaps, the way they are staggered on top of each other. So they ultimately will look like this, and you'll have the 3 pages. But before I glue them down, I'm going to create a pocket. So I have a piece that measures 3 by 6 inches, and on the 6 inch side, I'm going to score at 3/8 inch. And then I'm also going to score at 5 5/8 inch. So 3/8, 5 5/8, and then I'm going to turn this and do a 1/2 inch. So normally, as you guys know, with our pockets, we have to miter the edges so that it lays and folds down properly and looks nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, then I'll move these out the way, and then I'll fold, 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 and crease. Okay, so now let's bring back in our project. So this is how our project looks so far with our pages, and I'm going to go all the way to the back of it, and this is where I'm going to insert my pocket here. I'm going to center it between those 2 score lines so that, again, there will be no resistance. But before I lay down that pocket, remember I have these 3 flaps. I'm going to take the largest flap, and I want it to go underneath the pocket. So the 1/2 inch flap from my largest piece here goes underneath the pocket, so I'm going to actually secure that onto the pocket here. So these 2 1/2-inch flaps I'm going to secure together. Okay, so now let me get rid of this excess glue here. Okay. So now you have the flap and the pocket, and now you can go ahead and secure the pocket to the base of the project by adding glue on all 3 sides. Okay. And then I'm going to line this up to the right side of my project, making it exactly flush and even with the right side, like so. So you have your page here and your pocket right underneath. So now I'm just going to take these other 2 and I'm going to try to center them on top of each other. So I'll add glue to the 1/2-inch flap here again, and then add it right on top of the previous page underneath and center it. Okay, that should be good. And then do the same thing with my very last page here. Great. So now you have, and I apologize, the numbers are upside down now, but hopefully you can still get the gist of how it's supposed to look. So you have this page which opens like so, then you have another page, and then you have your 3rd page, and now you have your pocket at the back as well. So you have all of these areas for photos. You have pages here, you have pages here, you have a pocket, and it's all condensed inside this tiny little, or petite, I will say, Matchbook Mini Album. And that's pretty much the base of our project. So I am going to step away and decorate this, and then I will be back to show you my final project. To decorate my project, I used the Echo Park paper 6x6 paper pad. Love Notes is the name of this one, and I'm pretty sure they have it available if you're interested in purchasing it for yourself too. And I used quite a bit. I mean, there's a few papers here, but most of the paper pack is completely gone just from this project. So this is how my final project turned out. I used a die cut that I have for love here on the flap here, used the decorative paper here, used some ribbon, another die cut that I had of hot air balloon to match the other decorations of hot air balloons, and then some other little decorative pieces that I added there with some string. It is Velcro closure, so I'll open it up like so. This is how the bottom looks, and then when you open it, this is the middle, and with our pages, the area for a photo or for journaling, and then if you open it, there's an area here for photos as well, or journaling or smaller photos here. You can certainly choose to make these into pockets, and then, you know, have pull out tags if you like, or more area for photos too. That's another option of how you can even embellish this project even more. But this is an area for a photo, and then when you fold it down, I did make another flip out page with this journal card. Flips out that way, area for a photo, tuck spot for a photo here. Then for our next page, I use some of those smaller little journaling bits here, folds over, and that's an area for a photo. And then when you fold it down, more areas for photos here. Here is a tuck spot where you can add a photo there. And this is another tuck spot where you can add a photo there as well. And then when you come to the back, these are my fold over pages, and I put tabs on each one of them to make it easier to fold over. I didn't embellish too much, just perfect for a picture there. And then when you fold it over, you can add a picture there, here, fold it over, picture, here, here, fold it over for a picture. And then at the back is a pocket where you can actually add more in here. There you go. So there's a pocket there to add, and then towards the very back there is another pocket to add more photos there too. So plenty of room for photos. As I mentioned before, it's just a cute little project of using up your paper, and perfect gift to someone. Perfect little bite-sized project, I think. So I'll bring back in the previous one I made here so you can see them both side by side. The only difference is I added tulle on this project, which is another decorative element that you could add if you so choose. So I hope you enjoyed creating this project with me. I look forward to hearing your comments and suggestions and feedback. I thank you all so much for supporting my channel. It's been wonderful crafting with you each and every time. If you are new to my channel, I hope this moves you to want to subscribe to my channel and join me for many more crafting projects that are coming up in the future. Thank you all again for your time and your support and encouragement, and I look forward to crafting with you again very soon. Until then, have a great evening. Bye.